All right, Grant, welcome to another episode of the State of the Bulldogs. It is just us two tonight. It is Monday. UNC and LSU are currently in a battle to see who advances to the Supers. Grant, how has the weekend of college baseball been for you?
Doing good. It's been awesome. Just had squeeze play up on ESPN Plus, and literally I did not touch the remote all weekend when I was in front of the TV. Just let them do all the work red zone style for you, and they'll get you ready. So yeah, if you're watching baseball next week, they'll have that up too. Squeeze play for the Super Regionals. So
It's been a lot of ups and downs. We'll get to one of them real quick here with Around the Horn. But needless to say, it's been very entertaining. But we'll get to that in a second. We'll start with Around the Horn. First question, Grant, because this is she's just dominating every single headline everywhere you turn. Is Caitlin Clark already transforming the WNBA?
yeah, she's dominating headlines. Tamika Catchings said yesterday that she's bringing unprecedented eyes to the sport, and we've seen that earlier. We got those early games where they would normally play in their home arenas, but they've had to move games in other cities to NBA arenas just because the demand has been so high for tickets and stuff. And she had a little bit of a slow start, as anybody expected, coming off a long season, but she's averaged 15 points, 5 boards, and 6 assists so far. And also, as soon as she comes in the league, the WNBA started doing charter flights. So, I mean, you can kind of say she's kind of changed the game for everybody. So
That is crazy. I mean, that's why I asked. I mean, Grant, for the first time, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but for the first time in my sports life history, I could have told you how many points a WNBA player had scored the night before. And I saw the Caitlin Clark headline. She was held to 3, 1 for 10. It's the first stat line I could have ever given you about the WNBA. And I watched a ton of sports. So, yeah, Caitlin Clark is transforming the WNBA. And the ladies better hop on board because she's the money train right now. Now, back to college baseball. As I said right when we started, ups and downs. One of the downs is this constant Cinderella of the tournament. ECU was bounced early in their own regional. Grant, are we more sad for ECU or happy for the 4 seed Evansville, who is the shocking champion of that regional?
I think more happy for Evansville. They became the 4th regional seed since '99 to make a super regional after they had already lost on Sunday to East Carolina by 13, and then to come back today and win that game 7, like in that atmosphere. And also wouldn't feel sorry for ECU because they're once again their AD was on the committee and they got a host, and Mississippi State probably should have hosted. So it's cool with Evansville having a shine and spotlight and getting it done today. So yeah.
Chill. No one is going to complain about playing in the jungle. One of the best atmospheres in all of college baseball.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Grant. I think we got to be happy for the 4 seed. It never happens. However, they're about to get trounced in Knoxville. So cheer for Evansville for now. Remember who they are because they will soon be forgotten. Moving on, the headline of the weekend that no one saw coming. I didn't see it coming, Grant. Coach Cassady is out at Samford. She certainly wasn't fired, not as far as we can tell, because who fires a coach who wins 30 games for Samford softball? But she has signed the resignation. How shocked were you, Grant?
Pretty shocking. I mean, we knew coming in, or we talked about it the last few weeks, like how young this team was, and maybe next year is kind of the year. Be like, okay, you got 8 to 9 juniors coming back, minus Mackenzie Newcomb and win the portal coming back. Okay, this is kind of the make or break a year, like we said last week. And yeah, to come across the wire, D1 softball first reported that she and the Samford were parting ways in her 3 seasons as Samford's head coach. She went 84 and 82 overall, 39 and 18 in SoCon play. And their season ended in the semifinal round of the SoCon tournament this past weekend, 1 game away from the championship round. So yeah, still pretty shocking going through, expecting her to go take this young team and build on what happened this year leading into next year.
Yeah, very shocking. Look, Samford is a hard place to win. She was managing to win, managing to recruit good enough talent to be competitive. And then I don't know if she got a little rumbling of a job opportunity elsewhere. It's kind of been quiet on that front. Um, maybe personal reasons, hard to say, but
Yeah, I just don't know. Yeah.
shocking. Like resigns. Now, maybe if Mac had stayed, she would reconsider. Maybe Mac leaving triggered a thought. Who knows? Pure speculation. But just didn't have it on my bingo card for the weekend, Grant. I guess it happened on Friday, right?
Yeah, it happened Friday, like late Friday night. D1 softball reported it. Then, sorry, late Thursday night. D1 softball reported it, and then Samford officially announced it that Friday morning. So yeah, super late too. I think I put it out like 9:30 at night on Thursday. So yeah, just super, like we said, shocking. I didn't know it was going to happen, and didn't think that it would come to this for sure. But
especially considering how fragile the program is, not feeling super good right now. You have your ace leave, right? You have a program that's always tried to aspire to be good, but it's just never really come through. We have blips, right? We win 30 some odd games, and we've won the SoCon before, but never I don't think we've won the SoCon tournament, right, Grant?
that's a good question.
I
That
don't
sounds
think
right.
I think we've been regular season champs. I don't think we've been to the NCAA regionals. We will fact check that. We'll put a little caveat on our episode announcement if that isn't true. But it's always just been one of those programs on campus that never quite seems to have the stability and the success. Like we've had some longer term coaches, right? But sometimes that success is fleeting. And it seemed like we kind of had the right mixture. Star player at Auburn, longtime Birmingham, local, someone who was really tied to the community, loved Samford, was building something promising, had some very exciting players come through campus these past few years. And then boom, blink of an eye, gone.
Yeah, and especially like when it happened late that night. And just double checking us, Samford last went to the NCAA tournament. Softball did in 2016. They went 40-20. Were atop the SoCon 15-3. Then won the tournament and went to go play regional. In
Okay, so we
Tuscaloosa.
have been.
Yeah.
Thank you. 2016. Any other time before that, or hard to say?
I would have to go back through the record book, but yeah, just seeing 2016 under Mandy Burford. Her was her fifth year. Her fifth year, she got over the mountaintop. 40-20, as I said, 15-3 in SoCon play that year.
Yeah, well, 40 plus win season is incredible. So I guess, with Kimball out, who do you even go to? Like, how does a softball search work for a school like Samford?
And it is a national search, member that the school put out in the release. It's a national search, but I don't know how national it ended up being as we find out.
Right.
Find out this way. It's just cool to say. It's like I can see like everybody does it. I can't remember who did it. I think Mercer did it when they fired Greg Gary. A national search is underway for next coach. It's just what they say. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's not a local search, but the only name that's really popped up on the rumor mill that we can really say with any kind of confidence might be right is Megan Curry, who was actually at Samford when I was there. And then her husband, Parker, is on the Samford baseball staff. Feels a little close to home. She has some head coaching experience, but that's been the rumor on Twitter. To this point, no other names have really popped up. But then again, it's also the Samford coaching search, right? Like it's not going to generate a whole lot of buzz to begin with.
Yeah, I think my expectation is that she's the leading candidate right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the week we do find out that she's named the next head coach at Samford. And Parker he's now a coach at UAB under Casey Dunn's staff. He was at Samford this past year, then went over with Brad Moss to UAB.
He was one of the ones that got sniped.
He was, he and first base coach Brad Moss were the two that Casey took. Yeah,
I get it. Parker was a stud at Samford, but he was one of Casey's guys. That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. You go with a coach that recruited you and a guy who basically developed and turned into an undrafted free agent. Parker got as high as AAA with the Dodgers, so still pretty cool before undergoing Tommy John surgery. So yeah, be cool if Megan did get the job, just that connection. Obviously, she is a Samford Hall of Famer. She was the SoCon Player of the Year in 2016 as a senior. She was an awesome player, so it would be cool. And she was the assistant at Samford before going on to be the assistant coach at Mercer before other stops. But yeah, so we'll see whether that comes to fruition or not. But
yeah, 2 seasons as an assistant at Samford, an assistant at Mercer. She was the head coach at Asbury, D3 school in Kentucky, head coach at Birmingham Southern, and then was recently announced as the head coach at Wallace State up near Coleman. So that was a month ago or a few weeks ago where she was announced as the head coach at Wallace State. Are we sniping? Like, it's a little awkward.
It is a little bit when you take a job and then obviously she didn't probably knew that the Samford job would be open. Maybe one day this would be like her dream job to come back to school, come back to the school and lead the school where she played. So yeah, she probably wasn't definitely expecting this to be open as she's probably the leading candidate for the job. So
yeah, it's interesting. Cassady gave an interview with the Crimson a couple of years ago, I think maybe last season. And she said that Samford was her dream job and she was trying to build something like Bucky. Is that just what every coach says, Grant? It's their dream job and I'm here to build a dynasty. I mean, for all we know, Bucky could be sending in his resignation right now. I mean, what is this?
For the record, that's just a joke. We're not insinuating anything. It just put on the record before I get a text from somebody who said, What are you talking about?
Yeah, that is just
that is what every coach says. I can't remember if someone did it this year or not, but last year someone found like all the cut-ups of every new coach's opening press conference, and they had like the same buzzwords and everything. It's a great video someone put together. It has like 1 million or so views. But yeah, they do say the same thing. And looking up the Curry announcement for Wallace State, that article has not found URL, so that has been taken down by the school. If that's any indication of
that is a large indication of what is happening. Yeah. That might mean the announcement comes before this episode drops. It's June 3rd, so if it comes before that, then there you go, or before the 5th, and there you go. So Megan Curry's all we got at the moment in terms of actual guesses, but we'll see. In other news, and much happier news, is Samford swept, second year in a row, Grant, swept the Commissioner Germann, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, and graduation rate awards. So that's Commissioner's Cup goes to the best overall men's program. Germann goes to best overall women's program, and then graduation rate, obviously highest I can't say the word, Grant. Did I graduate?
Graduate. You'd make fun of me for not graduating. You graduated. And I did graduate. I got my diploma right over there. But yeah. Graduation rate. Yeah.
Thank you. Yep.
I don't know if that they mentioned the GPA in the press release. I don't know if that includes any kind of GPA metric, but it's pretty impressive. The women have done this 4 times. This is the second in a row and second overall for the men's, which is not too terribly surprising. But I was surprised, Grant, to hear that it's the first time in SoCon history that a school has won back-to-back years, both the Commissioner and the German Cup combined. I don't want to give Furman too much credit, but the way they talk, you would have thought that they would have won this sucker every other year, you know?
Yeah.
And managed to find a back-to-back one of those.
Yeah, it's a classic Furman line. Think they're better than everyone. They can all come at me at Twitter like they always do. You mentioned the first time a school has been swept all 3 awards back-to-back years. This is Samford's a 9th. Just talking about the SoCon titles and track and field was their highest rated sport. Then Samford men's program won the outright title regular season basketball, and then indoor track and field for the 5th straight year. And then the outdoor crowned the wagon that the track and field's team is 4th straight season. So
it's almost not fair. Like if you think of it as fantasy football, where you try to set your floor as high as possible, our floor just with the track and field dynasty is higher than like everyone's, right? Like that. It's not going to say unfair, but it's pretty close to being an unfair advantage and a leg up every single year. Because if we just happen to get one or two more men's conference championships, then you're just basically the Commissioner Cup champion. And then you combine that with what the women have going for them with soccer. So then you have soccer and track. I mean, we should be winning the German Cup every year.
Well,
golf is our anchor. Golf is our anchor. They're the teams that just destroy the average.
We said it before. That men's golf program is brutal. But going GPAs on the release for the academic year, Samford student athletes posted an overall GPA of 3.25, the highest in the SoCon. 16 of Samford's 17 sports posted a GPA 3 or higher, and Samford finished with a graduation rate of 98%.
What does that say about the SoCon? A 3.2 is not that impressive. Like what? Like what? That's the highest in the entire conference. I thought Wofford was some elite academic institution. How are their kids not just draining 3.7s over there?
I'm not at the GPA guy, although shout out to those Furman people. They thought I was the GPA police talking about Pegues when he went to Auburn. They were going at me, all that stuff. But anyway, sorry. We talked way too much about Furman in the first 20 minutes of this. But yeah, I don't know how the SoCon compares to other conferences.
All about the clicks.
But yeah, there you go. I can name them all. Do you want me to name all of them?
No, I think we spend enough. Everybody knows what teams dominate and which teams don't, and it's not too much of a surprise that we won the German Cup. A little bit more of a surprise we got the Commissioners, considering football didn't come through this year, baseball didn't come through this year, only basketball. So I guess that's the surprising one. The other sports were competitive enough to spread it out a little bit.
Yeah. Each sport is worth 10 points. We don't need to get into all of this, but with each spot in the standings given equal measure related to how many schools sponsor that sport. So
okay. Well, I didn't. I was curious.
Yeah, you can go find the release, and they have all that. We don't need to break it down, but
no, it's fine. No, let's get to much more fun news. So that was the happy news after Cassady sends in her resignation. This is the fun news. So Florida's a night game, everybody. We are going to be under the lights in the swamp. You know that the guys were pumped when this was announced. I mean, it's always a dream, right, to go play at a big SEC stadium. But to do it under the lights, baby.
Yeah, we did it last year at Auburn, which we all went to, and then we went the Florida State game, the Kelvin McKnight Devlin game. That was a night, and then back in 2014 we went to Auburn. That was also a night game. So yeah, we've done this before, so it is cool to do it.
Yes. Yeah, Georgia was
doing it in a place like the swamp. We had Georgia today. That was rainy.
Yeah.
Somebody else, but yeah, that was obviously cool. Getting, especially Florida, the great atmosphere they have. Well, maybe they'll be 1-0 against Miami. Who knows? In that one, that's a toss-up. those two schools that are playing at 2:30 in Florida in September. That's got to be brutally hot. That game,
brutal. Well, I mean,
we won't have to worry about that with Samford being at the night game. So
on the flip side, though, so while this is really fun, the flip side of this is obvious. It's not going to be the upset climate is not going to be as ripe in a night game in the swamp, right? You kind of want that 2:30 kick, 105 degrees, 100% humidity. Everyone's kind of like, why are we playing Samford? The players are like, why are we playing Samford? But with a night game, everyone's going to be pretty juiced. So that's the caveat here, but I'm pumped, man. I am pumped for a little SEC action under the lights.
Yeah, was it 2019 when we went to Florida for this screenshot of this Florida fan doing the surrender cobra when Samford was up 14 with 3 minutes left to go in the first half? That was
21.
21. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That was the last game of the year too. That was Samford was 4-5, and then remember Dan Mullen was like crowd surfing in the Florida locker room when they won that game, and then he got fired 2 weeks later. But
yeah. Dude, those are good memories. Those are good memories.
So yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah. We're excited. All right, let's get to the portal. Little portal update for basketball.
This is probably the biggest news of the week. Grant, take it away.
Well, Sam, we've known this for weeks, obviously, but it's just glad it's finally out there. Rylan Jones he's announcing that he got his 6th year of eligibility. He's going to run it back with Samford. So it's just cool him getting this chance, and everybody grown to love Rylan over his time and how hard he plays and how skilled he is. And it is good that Samford's going to return at least one starter next year. So it's awesome that Rylan gets to come back and play with the whole new group and kind of be like the coach on the floor like he was already, but he's going to be the older statesman in the room. And this helps Samford keep in that same top tier in the SoCon with teams like probably ETSU and Chattanooga are kind of two other teams that have done well in the portal so far. So I did see a stat where somebody said that the top portal teams, like the amount of transfers they took in didn't succeed the same like the next year. So like retention's obviously huge. So the way that Samford's retaining Rylan, holding on to Rylan, obviously huge to have their floor general back for next year. So
yes, by far biggest get so far for the Dogs. Always good to retain your own. And even more so in an offense like Bucky's, where point play is pivotal to success. So Rylan's coming back. There was a little confusion on Twitter of how exactly he was eligible. First off, it's the Wild Wild West. The NCAA is dead. Second off, you kind of had to correct me if I'm wrong, Grant, but you kind of have to patch together a couple of missed seasons to get to one complete year that he should earn back. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, he had as I said last week, he had a concussion issue. He only played in 13 games his last year at Utah State, and so once you add that, the amount of games he didn't play, and as you said, the NCAA is scared of anybody coming back and suing them for not eligibility. Maybe that did help as well. But I do know Samford was working on this pretty much throughout the whole year, saying if he does want to come back, we need to be ready for this exact moment. So it is cool that's finally official. Now we can stop hearing about rumors and stuff. So that's good.
Yes, to all those listening, Grant was so he wanted to share this news so badly. Not only to flex his insider knowledge, but also just the fact that he's such a big Rylan fan. So, Grant, I know it's a big relief for you that the bottle the genie's out of the bottle, and we can celebrate. We can pop a little champagne. Well, we don't pop champagne because it's Samford. We can pop some sparkling wine. Or
sparkling wine.
Grape juice, I mean.
Yeah. Anything sparkling, yeah.
Sparkling grape juice.
Whatever sparkling you think of. So now Samford has one spot open, and now we can't hold on to this news and try to find different ways to say he may or may not come back. We don't know at this point. It's just good to be like, cool. He's coming back. Cool. Let's move on. Yeah. Samford has one spot left to fill. So,
and we love Rylan. He's the sneakiest, best player I've ever watched in basketball. So, that's amazing. In another weird turn of events, AJ Stay McCray back in the portal. We were pretty excited for him to land at FAU. Love the unis over there, so we're excited to see him in those colors. And then sounds like some guys came back who were flirting with the NBA draft, and not necessarily that there wasn't a spot for him, but there wasn't the spot that he had signed up for with them, is what we are guessing. Grant, has there been an update of where he has he landed anywhere?
He hasn't yet. Also, there may have been a monetary thing that may or may not have fallen through. I haven't been able to confirm.
Interesting.
On the FAU side, but yeah, there may or may not have been an asking price that Samford obviously wasn't able to meet, and maybe FAU wasn't able to come through with it as well. Obviously, we don't know. I did see a list of schools that had reached out to him. I'll try to find that again, but it was like Duquesne and a handful, which he did visit. So
any chance he just comes back?
I don't think so. I think it would. Yeah. It'd be tough. I mean, obviously Samford would take him back, but it's just a matter of how he left. And it is a little bit of that too. We talked about before on how, yes, he's done his 4 years. It's cool for him to go get another opportunity, but there's still that little bridge that you burn from the school that found you and signed you and kind of developed the player you are, which is the norm in this state of college basketball. But I don't think he'll be coming back. I'm still trying to find that list, but
I wouldn't anticipate him coming back, but thing is, it's competition, right? And if the schools that he's looking at are about our level, might as well try and go get them. But how many spots do we have left, Grant? 1, 2?
Yeah, we have one spot, and I did find that AJ list. We can go back to it, but yeah, Samford has one spot left. So
Okay, yeah, shoot us with the list.
this is per somebody who actually writes for FAU. Funny enough, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, New Mexico, Nevada, Duquesne, Charlotte, Tulsa, Minnesota, St. Louis. Just some schools who have reached out to him. Nothing more other than that. This was a couple of days ago, but
interesting. That's a hodgepodge list right there. Anyway,
that is
moving to football. So we missed this one. This one was on me. This happened 2 weeks ago. But we got a football commit, Jalen Barden, wide receiver from Georgia Southern and Pitt. He was a pretty highly touted recruit in the state of Georgia coming out of high school, committed to Pitt, played there for 3 seasons before moving on to Georgia Southern. But for what looks to be more playing time, just didn't see too much action at Pitt, and played 1 season at Georgia Southern, and is coming to Samford for what he hopes is much more playing time. The dude is not bad. I usually knock the kid on this 3rd school, but as far as we can tell, I mean, he's athletic. He plays special teams, so look for him to be a potential option at punt return, kick return. And one stat that did pop out, Grant, he had less than 200 yards, so keep that in mind. There's a caveat here. Less than 200 yards last year at Georgia Southern, but his average catch was over 11 yards. So a fairly explosive receiver. He's an athlete. There will be a spot for him on the field. And we'll get to the football team in a little bit because one of our listeners had asked more specifically about it. But, a good get.
Yeah, 5'11", 180. His hometown of Valdosta, where Chris Hatcher got his start. So maybe there's some connections there too, coming to Samford. So yeah, some of his return tape did flash from what I saw as well. So it could be an option if Samford looks to replace another spot where Chandler Smith shined last year in the return game. So he could, from what I've seen, he will get involved in that action. Obviously, Samford loves adding wide receivers. They've added I want to say 3 more this spring portal cycle, and they've got a bunch of receivers to work with. So yeah, we'll see how you can squeeze your way on the field with Brendan Jenkins, obviously wide receiver 1 coming back this year.
If we don't, Grant, are we allowed to be a football team if we don't have 20 quarterbacks and 20 wide receivers under Coach Hatcher?
We are not. We are not. No, we have 1,000 green jerseys of football as they have 10 quarterbacks on the roster.
Look at the Manning Passing Academy every year on campus,
exactly,
basically.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
There you go.
But no, we can wait till we get to football.
Okay.
About the roster, just some other guys.
Yeah. Okay. So last portal update, baseball. Look, it happens. All the good guys flirt with leaving, and then usually about half of them do. In this case, our friend of the pod, one of our favorite guests, Lucas Steele, hit the portal, star catcher, absolute beast behind the plate, is in the portal. Not surprising. A slugging catcher is always a very tempting target, so he should land somewhere pretty fun. Michael Ross in the portal, expected to be drafted. Grant, I'll let you talk about why he might enter the portal, and then, or why he might be in the portal, and then Garrett Staten is also reported to be in the portal. So that's probably the largest loss from the offensive side because he is one of the best hitters I've ever seen. So yeah, go ahead, Grant.
D1 baseball, Kendall Rogers, the main college baseball guy. Go follow him for all your college baseball stuff. But yeah, Michael Ross is in the portal. But the way I read it, it's just kind of like a backup option. He can, when he gets drafted, say in the top 8 to 9 rounds or whatever, he can say, I always have this option to go. He can threaten the team or use his leverage, as a better way to say, other than threaten, but use his leverage. Yeah, I can go back to school as long as you get this signing bonus up. So I think it's just a way of using the portal as backup and using it as leverage to whatever team drafts you. So I still would expect him to take whatever bonus get drafted, because basically it's more advantageous if you're a junior to go ahead and go, because seniors, they can just pay you whatever 15, 20,000, right? Signing bonus, because there's no way you're coming back to school. So it is more beneficial if you're a guy who can get drafted in the first 10 rounds. It's kind of like the baseline since the draft moved from like 40 rounds to 20 rounds. If you're kind of top 10 rounds of juniors are probably going to go because the money will be a lot better than if you came back to school and waited a year, unless you make this massive jump into the first, second, or third round.
Interesting. I've never thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because you see a lot of seniors that get like, okay, your signing bonus for your fifth round is like 20,000 because you have another option. You have to sign whatever on the dotted line, which is why big reason why Heath Quinn, one of Samford's former outfielders, was a third round pick of the Giants and took the signing bonus as a junior as well, because this is the most money you're going to make. And I think he had been ready to move on and start a pro career. So yeah, you do see some options like that. So
interesting. All right, well, let's wrap it up with the people's questions. Y'all had some good ones. Our favorite question asker, questioner, question submitter, Colin Reese.
Submitter, yeah, that's good.
He sent in two. So the first one, Grant, should we assume, talking basketball here, that the last roster spot will be a big man?
I would assume so. They were kind of in the same spot last year. They kind of had the roster spill once. Her roster almost filled with one spot. Then Zach Loveday came from Baylor, kind of filled that spot. So you're kind of looking to replicate that, maybe have a better chance to get more production out of this ad than you did last year with Loveday. But I still think they would look to a big, unless you want Caleb Harrison, who's a really skilled player coming into college at 6'9". I want to say 210, 220 before he gets in the weight room. Then you got Jaden Brunell, who's your transfer from UIC, 6'9", 230. Then you throw in Alan Spock as well. So you kind of probably have one more frontline guy with a little bit more experience. It's just hard to find one of those guys to fill that role as your kind of like third big man, maybe second big man right there. But depending on whether Bucky wants to play two big men at once like he did against Kansas, which helped them get back in the game playing Riley and Achor out there. So, yeah, I do expect it to be a big.
Yeah, I'll say it again. We just need a guy like that Wofford Filipowicz guy, whatever his name
Filowich,
is. We just need a rebounder defender. Doesn't need to score. Doesn't even know how to put the ball in the basket. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Just needs to know how to grab it.
And Riley's 6'11", 247 listed. So once he gets another summer in the weight room, we'll see how he gets bigger and more built to kind of play more minutes with this offense with the Australian big man going to Kansas State. So,
yeah, I forgot his name. Any intel? So we've already kind of answered this one, Colin. Any intel on the softball coaching search and why Coach left? So we can circle back a little if you want, Grant, but as of now, Colin, we don't know why. Can't figure out why, other than maybe Samford's a tough spot and the portal, especially in this era, is just not right for some coaches. And then, as we said, Megan Curry is the favorite right now that we see as the next coach of Samford softball. But yeah, the why, Colin, it's going to be bugging me. I don't like surprises, and that one was certainly a surprise. All the portaling, that makes sense. It's money.
We're used to that. Yeah, we're used to that.
Easy. But it's an odd resignation. Benny Gilliard, the third. So a fellow Sigma Chi at Samford. Shout out to Benny. He sent in this question. Favorite question so far, Benny. No offense, Colin. How is our football team looking this upcoming season? We've talked a little bit about the football team. We said maybe a month or two ago that we were going to try to lock down a roster coming out of spring football. We were able to lock down a roster coming out of spring football. We can't share it, but we can tell y'all a little bit about it. We've also been potentially, someone has said we may have been interviewing some of the football players for the summer interview series, and we've been talking to them. But kind of the two sides there. So from what we've heard outside of the football team and what we've seen on the roster, the quarterback battle, we thought it was probably three people. We hear less and less about Mac Howard as the weeks go by. So that one, as of now until the fall, so once the fall begins, it's a whole new ballgame, right? But until the fall, it's between Nick Scalzo and Quincy Crittenden. The running backs, we got a lot of guys that you probably have heard of. We talked about the Jonathan Bennett most recent transfer. Micah Kelly was a pretty high-profile transfer from Toledo. And then we got DeMonta Witherspoon. Obviously, we were really excited about him last year. Flash didn't really play that consistently. He'll be returning, looking for a more consistent role. Wide receiver room loaded, right? We got Brennan Jenkins, Ejai Mason, DJ Rios. Rios and Jenkins are the guys to be most excited about just because of what they did last year. But the tight end room, we'll see. Not enough to know yet. Enough linemen to coming back so far to be confident that it will be serviceable. I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to have an all-SoCon line. That's ridiculous. But guys like Chris Noble and Luke Byrne and Cooper Frazier, right? And then Darian King, absolute dog. Yep. So that'll be fun. So from an offensive standpoint, all depends on the quarterback, right? All depends on the quarterback. We'll have enough weapons to be good. Any guesses, Grant, on who wins the quarterback battle?
I still think it'll probably be Quincy just because he's obviously been in the program a lot. He obviously helped Samford had their first win in the FCS playoffs. He got that going for him. I think he'll get the job. It's just a matter of whether he can hold on to it. We think he can. It's just a matter of he is a little smaller at his size. Obviously, so we'll see if he can kind of get through a full season like that. So, but I still do expect Quincy to be the job Quincy to get the job as when we sit here on June 3rd.
Yeah, he's got to be the betting favorite, but Nick Scalzo, he's got good skills. And then I still holding out hope for a lot of drama with the Matt Coward fall camp. We'll see. It's always good to have three quarterbacks who can sling it. From a defensive standpoint, so this is where it's been interesting, is talking to some of the guys on the team. Obviously, Josh Mathiason's back, stud. Mekhi Gilbert is back, stud. After that, we have some guys who need to make a jump. So very similar to last year where there's a lot of speculation on the D-line, not a whole lot of knowns. Guys like Johnny Johnson, right? That's one guy that he has looked good in the past. Can he be consistently dominant? Yeah, he could. He could. Will he be? And then the transfer Nazir Sai, we've heard a few things about him. Pretty excited. But again, we'll see. When the other team when we play a real team and not just ourselves, it always is a little bit different. Always helps to have Noah Martin as a returning linebacker and Jaden Mosley, who are both. Noah's all conference, and Jaden Mosley could very well be all conference, first team all conference, and then the DBs. Surprisingly great last year. DBU did not really show up. So let's hope for a little more consistency in the secondary this season. Guys like who do we got coming back? Cam Smith, Edwin Dearman, Dante Pollard. No, Edwin's a transfer. Honestly, CJ Douglas. He was that freshman safety who came in that really lit it up in that. I think it was just the last game. I think we kind of got excited about him. So he's a name to watch. Would not be shocking if he started just because of what we watched on like 4 series last. I want to say it was like 4 series. But the secondary is a mystery box. If there's the mystery boxes are all on defense, Grant, other than quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going through the secondary room. I remember we've talked about this in the football season. I remember last year they went through the portal. Okay, let's find 4 or 5 guys that can kind of fill our room, and they played really well. Some guys that helped Samford get to the quarterfinals, the FCS playoffs, and then last year they kind of said, "Oh, it worked for us that year before. Let's run it back and maybe try to find that same collection of guys." Didn't have that same success, so maybe we'll see how this portal group comes with Jalik Yancey, a transfer, Seth Parker, a transfer, and then Edwin Dearman and Luke Wattenberger out of California in that safety room. So you've got some guys coming in, and then obviously you got Midnight Stewart who leads the all-name team. He's the number one best name. If you want to just go through names on the team, Midnight Stewart, just a great name.
Midnight's such a good name.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of what kind of production you get out of that DB room. Then also you do got those leaders like Josh Mathiason and Noah Martin and Jaden Mosley coming back. So you do have that continuity up front in the front 7. It's just a matter of how well that back 4 plays. So,
look, I know. So you named 2 transfer safeties, Edwin Dearman and Luke Wattenberger. But CJ Douglas, local hero again, homegrown hero, freshman at Samford. Guess this will be a sophomore season. Would be very exciting if a guy like that popped. Because honestly, what's made the great Samford teams great is we have that safety. Probably the best ever was Jaquaski. That's a pretty safe bet, right? I think we only have one NFL.
I think so, yeah. I think so. He and a guy named James Bradbury, kind of the two safety room, obviously, with Jaquaski. But yeah.
To answer your question, Benny, long story short, there's a lot of really good returning talent. I would say less promising returning talent this year than last year, but the returning talent that is coming back this year is like your core outside of obviously Michael Hires. So very excited about what this team could be.
Yeah, and a new defensive coordinator coming in.
That's right.
So you got that mix too.
New strength coach and D coordinator.
And a new linebackers coach coming in. So you got
a lot of new faces.
Had some changes there with Adam Braithwaite coming over from Tennessee Tech. So it's just, we'll see how that goes. Chris Boone obviously did a good job last couple of years, piecing guys together and getting the unit to be kind of a little bit up there towards the offense. Like the offense is going to be great, but like the defense, S&P plus, like remember the projections, like, oh gosh, if Samford's S&P plus top 30, you throw a party because they're top 30 in S&P plus, like those projections.
Yeah.
So they did slow down a little bit last year, but the year before they stepped up in big moments and got a big play, some big interceptions in the end zone when they needed it. So it's just a matter of, again, how well this defense performs, because Hatcher, no matter the quarterback, is going to have the offense rolling.
Benny, if Cortland Marsh was coming back, I would feel so good about this defense, because you would have an anchor on the line in Mathiasen, anchor and backer as Martin, and then he would be the anchor in the secondary. And if you got three leaders like that, feeling good. But that's what CJ Douglas, baby. Remember the name. Yep. Remember the name. Anything else, Grant? Anything else?
No, just going over the football schedule real quick. Season opener is August 31st at West Georgia. West Georgia, the first game for them coming up to the FCS level. So,
yeah, we better slaughter them. If we don't, might be a long season ahead.
Yep.
Yeah. We have not, a little programming note. We have not figured out when exactly we want to start releasing some of these interviews. It might be next week. It might not be. But stay tuned. You will have an episode next week. Fear not. But with that, the state of the Bulldogs is out.
Let's run it back, Rylan.
Hey, you already know. Samford, about to get that ring, man. Hey, love y'all. We love y'all.